Mhm.
Okay, you guys ready? Yep. Okay, it is Thursday, February 2nd, 2023 and 6 p.m. We will open our regular city council meeting. Lindsay, would you call it?
Yes. Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Riva,
Here.
Cool,
Here.
Livingston.
Here.
Mayor Tom Phillips is not here, so Mayor Pro Tem.
I'm here twice. All right, the first thing on the agenda is to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all need to stand.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Would anyone like to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same. Okay, the agenda is approved. So we're going to start today with a presentation. Ryan Jensen of Jensen Oswald LLC.
I'll give you a little.
It's all in PowerPoint. We don't have a clicker to go through. Is this the one you want to start with?
Yeah, you just get to the next one. You can look for about 10 minutes.
Does he have a microphone?
Really tall.
We-
For 15 years. And then years ago, my partner Ted and I started a company called Compounding Capital. We syndicate real estate assets with accredited investors around the state. And then Ted and I built 207 Crocker downtown, the old Mercy office building. We converted that into a Fairfield Inn right next to Wells Fargo Arena. And it's been a pretty successful project. So Ted, he's a South Dakota guy, went to Iowa State, worked for Eric Sheldall. Those of you who've been around long enough remember Eric Sheldall. He developed most of the affordable housing across the state of Iowa back in the 70s and 80s. And then Ted bought a portfolio of 28 of those himself. Oh gosh, I don't know what year it was. 2002, and he's been growing his portfolio ever since. So him and I have been partners for 4 or 5 years, and this is our second hotel project. So we're really, really excited about it. So that's a little background on us. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Next, we're planning a Fairfield Inn by Marriott. So I wanted to give you guys, if you're not familiar with Marriott, just a little background on why we chose that flag for this location, and the power that Marriott has, the loyalty program, and just in general. So Marriott has a culture of adaptation and inclusion. They have a program that they donated $50 million to try to get the underrepresented business owners or franchisees to try to get into franchise ownership, which is something not very many companies that size do, which is really cool. They have a global portfolio of 8,200 properties. They're the largest in the world. 30 brands to choose from, which made our selection process somewhat difficult, but we moved to a Fairfield Inn and we feel like meets the needs of this community the best from a cost of construction perspective, cost to stay, and then just the general amenities that are required for who we think our target audience is, which are the people likely that are going to be visiting Norwalk Central and taking advantage of the amenities you guys have over there. Their Bond Boy program, which you may or may not be familiar with, is the largest in the world. They have 180+ million members of that program, or 170, I think. Next place is Hilton with about 140,000 members. A unique note about the Bond Boy members have 10% higher ADR than all hotels around the globe. The reward points are better, but basically what that means is the people that stay at a Marriott generally spend more money, one at the hotel, two in the community, which means more tax revenue for all the retail services and room Marriott tax, or hotel motel tax, etc. This is a quick chart just kind of talking about that. Gives you a little indication of Marriott spending at their hotels. That first chart on the left there shows you the average ADR, which is about 15 to 20% higher than the rest of the flags. And RevPAR, which is really geared towards the developers, is slightly higher, maybe 10% than the other competitive flags. Talk quickly about the direct economic impact of putting a hotel here. I think when you guys did all the studies to bring Norwalk Central to life, you knew that you're going to have a hotel so you capture the revenue with consumer spending that will be in the market, because if you don't put a place for those people to stay, that spending goes to West Des Moines or Des Moines or wherever else people are actually staying. 10% of the GDP in the USA is tourism, hospitality and tourism. So we're going to try to create some jobs right here in Norwalk. We're trying to build the right product that invites travelers to stay here and spend their money here when they're here. Give them a reason to come to Norwalk. Maybe it's not even a traveling event. I think there's opportunities with corporate stuff with the employers that you have here, senior living, that kind of thing. Obviously, the city will benefit from the tax revenue from the hotel, motel tax, and real estate tax revenue. We talked about keeping the spending here, and this will support new development of retail, hopefully more hotels down the road. So a little snippet on the jobs that we anticipate creating here. This doesn't include ancillary services that we'll have to hire out, contract out with local vendors. But we expect to create 20 to 25 new jobs. And I won't go through all these salaries, but there's a list of salaries and hourly wages for the staff that we plan to hire. I crunched some numbers, and these aren't perfectly accurate, but it's a guess based on the data that I have. And I think they're fairly conservative. But I outlined the hotel we're building is 79 keys, which would be about 28,835 rooms available per night for a guest to stay in, an average daily rate of $110. So I crunched some numbers on various levels of occupancy to try to give you guys a rough idea of the economic impact of keeping those dollars in Norwalk. So you can see the average guest spends about $45 a day on food, $51 a day on entertainment, $12 a day on tips, $19 a day on booze. And then I highlighted the sales tax and hotel and motel tax and the real estate taxes on them. So the bottom number excludes the proposed rebates we would get back from the city. But at a 45% occupancy, we're looking at about a $1.9 million impact to the community, extra spending here that isn't here currently. And that increases as we stabilize and as more people stay at the hotel. And those are dollars that obviously you guys would like to keep here and we'd like to keep in this market as well. So over the course of 5 years, we're looking at, I'd say a minimum about $11.5 million economic impact to Norwalk. So here's our proposed site. This is where we have architects and engineers, civil, working right now to put a site plan together that we can present to the city and start working through the approval process. I think you guys are all familiar with Hughes Crossing. We're looking at the corner of Hughes and Chatham there on the southeast corner. Nope, just north, the one that says under contract. Yes, yep, that's it. So the next couple pictures will give a little better indication of what that looks like. So there's our site plan, diligence planning a retail building, right along Chatham there. You can kind of see our lot line. We're looking at about 1.85 acres or so. This is not anywhere final. Actually, a meeting with diligence tomorrow morning to try to work out a few things that we have to solve with parking and some other stuff like that. So this shows the standard Marriott prototype 79 key Fairfield Inn. The pool is not in its traditional Marriott approved location. And we don't know what the city's thoughts on the pool location. We know that the PUD, everybody wants the buildings along the road. So I expect to have some discussions with you guys about that. But we can't flip flop the building because we have to have our big awning out on the road and it create a whole lot of other challenges. So we'll have further dialogue there. This is just a rough start. But that's what we have right now. So the next one kind of gives you an overlay where that sits on the lot, give you an idea of using Chatham there, what that looks like. We're mixing up the unit mix pretty substantially, and Marriott seems to be on board with this so far. We anticipate a lot of families staying at this hotel. We heavily investigated a Spring Hill Suites, which is geared more towards suites and families and longer stays. The cost of construction is about $30,000 per key more, which is primarily in furniture, fixtures, and equipment. We felt that we try to modify a brand that was a little more affordable to construct, keep our rates lower, and be able to accommodate families that are already spending a lot of money trying to come and do these events with their kids. So 44 double queens is very high on the high side for what Marriott will allow, but we think that they're going to let that slide. So we are trying to create a unit mix that is conducive to our guest. The next few slides just kind of go through generic floor plans. Another unique thing we're going to do here is we're going to have a bar. I just believe if I go stay in a hotel, I want to have a drink 99% of the time. So we have a bar, which our downtown Fairfield's one of like 2 in the entire country to have a bar. COVID shut it down for quite a while, so it hasn't been as successful as we would have hoped. But we are going to do a bar here that will integrate with our free breakfast room. And that will work right out to the patio, right out to the pool. That's one of the reasons Marriott wants a pool where they want the pool. And then the other floor plans are just the second, third, and fourth floors, which are just, show the suites that are there. And then there's some rough elevations. We haven't finalized the color palette or anything like that yet, but this is one of the generic options that Marriott has that I think is a little more modern. Most of their color palettes are yellowy, beigey, looks like they're straight out of the 80s. So we're trying to build a product that looks and feels modern and new that belongs where we're putting it. So this is the color palette we're working on right now, and we may make some modifications there. But the primary building materials are EVIS or some metal, wood type product. But everything that Marriott specs is generally within the P within the code. So I don't think we have any issues with the building materials. Timing, that's going to be super hard to read. But basically what this says is by the end of this month, we will be done with our feasibility, hopefully, or very, very close to done with our actual financial feasibility as this project work. We'll have some rough numbers by the end of February from our GC. It will be at about 30% drawings by the end of this month with our architect. So we've only been talking to Holly for 2 months or 4 months, and we're moving pretty quickly. We'd like to be in the ground. This says August, but our goal is June. So
Oh, 23.
Yeah.
23.
We have a lot of work to do now, but yes, we're humping it. We want to open next season. When we opened our downtown hotel, we had some delays. And it was the first year that March Madness was here for the first and second rounds. So we lost, $500,000 revenue. Not being open. But yeah, so thank you for let me give a presentation. Again, we're trying to build a product in town that's meets the needs of people that are going to be staying here and fills a void that the city doesn't have. So I'm happy to answer questions if anything has it.
Great, thanks very much.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, item number 5, welcome of guests and public comments. This is for non-agenda items. We would have a 3-minute time limit. Can't take any action on these tonight since they aren't on the agenda. If you'd like to comment on anything that is on the consent agenda, now would be the time to speak. Anybody want to make any public comment?
You knew I would.
I bet.
Judy Corcoran, 1736 Bristol. And I'm here really on behalf of the Norwalk Easter Public Library Foundation. Through you all, we want to thank the city for the support of our $5,000 match campaign. I was, of course, the first person to say we would never make it. And we had to raise $5,000. I thought it'd take 2 or 3 months. We have raised, in a little over 31 days, $8,002. And we have received from the donor who still wants to remain anonymous, the $5,000 check. So we have $13,000 in new money to put to work in the city. Again, thank all of you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to draw sometimes.
It's so rarely. Yeah.
I know. I wouldn't have thought about it.
I know.
Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. We have expenditures, January 17, 2023 minutes of the special city council meeting, January 19, 2023 minutes of the regular city council meeting. Renewal of Class C retail alcohol license for outdoor service for 1908 Draft House. Renewal Class B retail alcohol license for Dollar General. Resolution terminating a 28 agreement with the Norwalk Community School District for building management and maintenance services. Resolution to adopt cellular phone use and allowance policy. Resolution approving 2 alternate commission members for the Greater Des Moines Sister City Commission. Resolution approving an agreement with the Iowa Communications Network to increase the internet bandwidth for the city. Resolution approving part-time economic development grant payment to Diligent HCC LLC. Resolution approving Parks and Recreation to hire Fisher Brothers LLC to restore the Norwalk Aquatic Center water slide. Resolution setting February 16, 2023 for a public hearing to dispose of real property, parcel A, a part of Outlot Z and Sunset Estates Plat 3. Resolution setting February 16, 2023 for a public hearing to dispose of real property, parcel B, a part of Outlot Z in Sunset Estates Plat 3. Again, a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion. Second.
Need to call the roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Motion carries. We move on to item C, 7, old and new business for consideration, discussion, and possible action. A, we have a public hearing regarding an amendment to the Hughes Century Crossing Planned Unit Development Parcel F land uses. So we will open the public hearing at 6:19. This is a discussion, or there has been a discussion of 6,000 square feet plus convenience store with fuel sales at the intersection of Highway 28 and Chatham. The current zoning is C2, which would not allow for such use. So Elliot, I will let you take over.
Yep, you're exactly right. So we kind of approached this with the idea of making the amendment for all of parcel F rather than just the one spot near the Chatham Avenue extension, because we accurately predicted that we would need it for another piece of land within the PUD at the southern area, a quick lube business is looking at potentially going in down there, and that would fall under this definition as well. And really, this is kind of a technicality, at least for a gas station use. I guess when we drafted the PUD, we kind of said, oh, C2, convenience store, that's going to allow for, something like the Casey's or the Come and Go nearby. Well, it turns out fuel sales and convenience store are separated in our definitions. Fuel sales only permitted in C3. Because this is a C2 parcel, we figured we just put gas in service stations in as a definition to check that box and permit the development to proceed. That's all.
All right, Lindsay, have we received any written or oral comments?
We have not.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Any council comments, inquiries?
The question, so I know I understand correctly at least. So the change that we make by altering this definition, right? So it's going to only apply to this area you've got illustrated.
Yes, with the hatch marks, correct.
Thank you.
All right, no other comments? We'll close the public hearing at 6:22. And then agenda item B, first reading of an ordinance amending the Hughes Century Crossing Planned Unit Development. We just had the public hearing for this amendment. This is the first of 3 readings which are needed. Elliot, anything else to add?
Nope.
Any discussion or comment from council?
Let's make a comment that P and Z discussed this quite a bit, and they were concerned about the optics of another gas station on Highway 28. And I'd just like to point out that the gas stations, and I shared this with P and Z, but the gas stations make don't come and ask for any other economic incentives. They just build their building and pay taxes. So just to remind everybody that when we're trying to lower your taxes, that's important to remember, is that a gas station does that. So I just like to point that out.
Anybody else? Any public comment? Okay, may I get a motion to approve the first reading of
Motion?
It's presented in
Second.
the packet. Okay, motion by Baker, second by, is that you, Ed?
Reba.
You can give it to Reba.
Okay, I'll give it to you. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
Okay, now we move on to agenda item C, a public hearing regarding the proposed maximum property tax levy for general fund, liability, property and self-insurance costs, and special revenue levies for employee benefits. So we will open the public hearing at 6:23. And I would start on behalf of Mayor Tom Phillips with this statement. Council has asked staff to create a budget that both meets the needs to operate city government and to address those items needed to meet the requests of our citizens as indicated in citywide opinion surveys. Staff has spent months working on the budget and openly and transparently presented that budget at our January 17th budget workshop, which was open to be attended by anyone, was available to attend via Zoom, and was live streamed on YouTube. We also had a recap of our budget discussion at our council meeting on January 19th. Again, open to be attended by anyone, available to be attended via Zoom, and was live streamed on YouTube. All information that council had for those meetings was publicly available on our website long before those meetings occurred. Those who say we have not been transparent and open with our budget process has not been paying attention and are greatly misinformed. At this point, if council wants to reduce our budget, that's certainly up to them. I would ask that today you pass the max levy, as we can always go lower. Then if reductions are desired, schedule a special session, which would be open for the public to attend, where council can discuss and remove the items they don't want funded. This should not be a staff exercise, as staff has given council exactly what council asked them to produce. It is now up to the city council to make the hard decisions on reductions. A majority of the max levy funding is related to general city operations, specifically staff. We have delayed hiring much needed staff in past years. Within the past couple of years, we have added staff and utilized reserved funds to pay for that. A purpose of this was knowing the TIF retirement would happen this year. The staffing includes police officers, firefighters, library staff, city attorney, and the first IT professional the city has had. In addition, the city has made an effort to be competitive in the metro. We have good staff and we want to retain them. We conducted a comprehensive wage study and balance adjustments across 2 fiscal years to bring us more in line with the metro and other like communities. During a time of record inflation and a small labor pool, we believe it is necessary to compensate staff fairly. Council has been elected to represent all of Norwalk citizens. They have lowered our levy for the past 5 years and kept the city's portion of our property tax bill steady and predictable. Let's stay the course and keep our city moving forward. Thank you, Tom Phillips. So, Jean Kelly, I'm going to let you take it from there, please.
Thank you. In 2019, the legislature approved creating an additional public hearing and discussion regarding general fund, FICA, IPERS, and other employee benefit levies if a city increases requested property tax dollars by more than 102%. The legislation did not include debt service levies. So the notice before you does not show a picture of the true budget. The numbers presented tonight include values provided by the county as of January 5th. However, we have recently been made aware of an error in the state residential rollback calculation by the Department of Revenue. The state Senate yesterday voted to amend the calculation from 56.49% to 54.65%. The House will consider this next week. So based on the numbers we have at the present moment is what I'm going to discuss tonight. I will tell you what that will do to these numbers if it happens. Norwalk's taxable value increased 29.4% from last year. 13.1% of that was new housing or value increases. 16.29% is a result of 3 TIF districts expiring. Norwalk's taxable value increased more than assessed value for the first time ever due to that. Very unusual. The city is essentially leveraging these new dollars to pay for services, including police, fire, EMS, Parks and Rec, library, community development, economic development, and administrative services. The notice as presented, again, as the numbers we have now, and as this pertains to the tax levy, the city is recommending lowering the levy from $15.11 per thousand to $14.99 per thousand. The notice includes 3 of these levies. The general fund at $8.10, the insurance levy at 33 cents, the benefits levy at $3.36, and why the notice has $11.79 on it. Now, if you add the debt service levy, which we are recommending at $3.20, it would be $14.99. And that would be reflected March 2nd at our public hearing for the full budget. If I give you some examples, I'm going to throw a lot of numbers at you. I'm not trying to confuse, but it is confusing because we are not sure what numbers we are going to be using. But I just want to kind of give you an idea. If there are no changes to the rollback and it remains at 56.49%, which is a difference of 2.3% from last year. It was 54.13%. Again, this is set by the state of Iowa, not under our city's control at all. And your house is valued at.
Jean, can I just jump in real quick? And this is probably more for the audience. You keep hearing rollback. I just want to make sure I explain that. The rollback means if you are taxed on 100% of the value of your property, there would be no rollback. It would just be you would pay taxes on 100% of the value of your property. Back in the mid 80s or so, the state of Iowa noticed that ag land values and residential values were outpacing each other. And they wanted to link those 2 together so that that wouldn't happen. The analogy that I give is like 2 people running a race, one person that's fast, one that's slow. They shackle them together so that as one goes faster, the other one is allowed to speed up. Same thing when one falls way back behind, they're going to slow down that faster runner. So that's the concept. That formula that the state does each year, they pass down and they tell us what that percent we can use. The first number the state gave us was 56%. That's a higher percent, meaning you pay on a higher amount of your property. With the revision, when they found the error, they're coming back saying 54%. It's a difference,
1.8%.
1.8. Yeah, I'm rounding. So just know that the number that they're giving us is actually lower. General concept is residential pays roughly about 50% on the actual tax value of their property. I hope that helps a little bit. I know that can be confusing.
I'm just gonna go with an average value of $325,000. If the rollback, if there is no change to the rollback and we go from $15.11 to $14.99, the homeowner would pay an additional $7.83 a month. If we lower, if the rollback does change to 54.65% and we stay at $14.99, the difference will be 35 cents a month increase to a homeowner's tax bill. So
What's the value of a home, you said?
325,000. Now, we do know that values go up. Values are another thing that's outside of city control. And we have been told by the assessor that next year will be a revaluation year. And as you guys have know, everyone knows here, values have gone up in the state, again, set by the state. An assessor has to appraise those homes at 95 to 105% of market value. And according to our assessor, Warren County is not keeping up with that. So we're looking at increases. So I just put an example of 10%. I hope I'm wrong. I hope that's high. On a 325,000 home, if a value did go up 10% and we kept our tax rate at $14.99 and the rollback stays at 56, the average homeowner would pay $26 more a month. If we lower to $14.88, it would be $20. If the rollback goes down to 54.6% and we lower to $14.88, the average cost of a homeowner paying more on a $325,000 house, $16.30 a month. A lot of numbers there. Staff, I still feel like we could stay the course with going to that 1488 number by the time the final budget is approved on March 2nd. But I wouldn't mind waiting to see what those valuations do. This does not affect this process because the numbers are going to go lower. We can always go lower. We just can't go higher. So this state is recommending we just stay the course on our public hearings. All right.
Lindsay, have we received any oral or written comment?
I have not.
Is there any public comment at this time?
I will let you know if there's an online comment.
State your name and your address, please.
Ethan Carpenter, 1218 Meadow Drive. Council members, I very much appreciate you being as transparent as you possibly can in this process. I obviously understand that wages go up, expenses go up, obviously with inflation and everything like that. I just, in the current economic place we are in as a country and as a state, I see that it's not necessarily in the best interest of the city to essentially ramp up their spending and their budget as much as that. I understand, like I said, that inflation has influenced a lot of things and prices have raised across the board for just about everything. But that being said, like I've said to everybody that I've talked to about this particular issue, if I were to go to my boss and ask for a 28% raise or a 28% increase in my budget for my job, he would probably laugh me out of the building. And so it just seems you know, we want to spend and, you know, do what we can to grow the city in a way that is not, to me, it just doesn't seem sustainable in the fact that, you know, we are just, as Norwalkians, as Norwalk citizens, we are taxed at a very high rate. And I was looking through, you know, other suburbs in central Iowa, and we have one of the highest rates. And I understand that is something that happens just being close to Des Moines and all of that, and how, you know, land values and all of that go. But the fact is that we're not on the same level as most, if not all of the other suburbs. You know, we're not a Waukee, we're not a West Des Moines. You know, if that's where we want to get to as a community, I guess that's, you know, we're gonna have to just bite the bullet. I just am not necessarily, I'm not seeing the progress. I see some of the plans, but it just seems like they're very disjointed in their planning. So I personally don't see 28% increase in any budget as being responsible. But that is my public comment.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:37. All right, item D, resolution to approve the proposed maximum property tax levy for general fund liability, property and self-insurance costs and special revenue levies for employee benefits. All right, we just had the public hearing on this, and Jean, do you have anything else to add? Any discussion or comments from council?
I should reiterate what the mayor wrote in his comments about that we've delayed a lot of things, and this tip rollout was planned for several things that need to be added. So the bulk of our increases due to that, and things that we've been delaying. I mean, multiple years of delay on some of these things. So
I have some comments that I did some checking around, you know, on the way up to this. And I know that this council, contrary to the comments, is a fairly conservative group. And I know that we've been pushing the property rate, the assessment rate down. Levy rate down for the years that we've been here as a council. Now, I had communications this morning with both Representative Gustafson and Senator Garrett. Stan said that he talked with the chairman of the committee that is writing the legislation in the House side, but he didn't get back to him today, and he would let me know, you know, obviously as soon as he could. He's been pretty helpful about that in the front. Julian sent me an email that I'd like to read if I could.
Sure.
And he says, "Hi Ed, you may know that we passed Senate File 181 yesterday in the Senate. This bill corrects an error that overtaxes some residential property, will result in cities receiving a little less revenue than they were expecting. It takes effect immediately on passage and applies retroactively to correct the error. There may be another more general bill. I am not on that committee, so I am not directly involved in preparing these bills. I hope this helps a little, Julian." So it throws another unknown in there for us besides the economy and besides the appraisals. I also did some looking around at other property tax rates, because as long as I've been here, I've always heard that Norwalk is the highest property tax rate. And we aren't, Des Moines is, and there are a few cities above us. That said, Waukee is right at the middle at 13. Okay, they're right at the center of 100 cities. And Indianola last year, their rate was 13.6. Carlisle's was 14.89. Ours would be around 14.99. And I guess two things. One thing, we're setting a maximum rate tonight or maximum levy, right? And I think we should just leave things alone where they are right now, because we don't know what these variables are going to be, but we may have a pretty good picture of what they are before we set our final. Right? So I guess what I'm thinking is that we don't touch anything and keep it the way it is as it goes to the state right now. And then when we meet again to set the rate, we'll probably know what's going to happen with the valuation. We'll probably have a clearer picture of what the state's going to do. So we'll have a better idea of what we've got to work with and how we can do it. To go along with that, I'd also recommend that, you know, we adopted several goals for the city and we come out and polish those every year. And I would recommend that we establish a goal to have a property tax rate that would be the lowest in Warren County. You can't really put a dollar amount on that because there's so many variables in this, right? But if we had that as a goal, we could work toward that. We can't legally bind future councils, but we could adopt a policy or an action plan that says whenever we would receive an increase in our tax base, a substantial increase, that we consider diverting part of that toward reaching that goal. And that would be in keeping with what we've been doing over the years, where we've constantly brought it down a little bit each time, trying to work our way toward that. We're getting close. I mean, we're getting toward the middle of the pack now in the county, right? But it would be nice to have the lowest tax rate and be something we could all feel good about, provided we could still maintain, you know, our adequate services in the community. And the last point I'd like to make is that if I had a business out there and my business picked up 66% more market, right? I would not be cutting my staff. I'd be trying to make the most of that increased market. Our community has grown. It's what, a little under 15 now. It was 6 when I came here. And we've got amenities now that are coming in we couldn't have realized before. And it's because of a plan. It's not a haphazard thing. We've been working on this for years. Okay. And I just think that we need to maintain the positive atmosphere of the community. We need to maintain the positive things that are going forward. How that relates to a final budget, I don't know. We're still going to have to consider that and weigh all that. But I would caution those that might want to take a hatchet out. And I would remind them that some of these expenses we've been carrying out of reserves. So this has been building for a while because we've had the demand for a while for these capabilities. We've had to gain them. We've had to acquire them. Right? So now they're literally coming to fruition, but they've been there for quite a while. Okay. So it looks bad if you're a person that says, oh my God, how can the budget go up this much? If you don't realize what's been going on behind the scenes, right? In the build up toward this. Anyway, so coming away from this, what I think I would like the council to consider is to take the current tax rate reported as our top number, right? Then let's take the time to look and gather the pertinent information. So hopefully we can make pretty good decisions when we set the final levy and we pass the final budget. So anyway, that's my 2 cents.
I mean, I can't disagree with you, Ed, although I would substantially, I would say this. We do take the time. The last thing you said was, let's take the time and evaluate the information.
Right.
I paraphrase. We do
No,
that. I know that I know we're saying the same thing in just a different way. We do that. We do it every time. We are, I think, a very thoughtful and a very evaluative council. We get the information, we evaluate it, we ask questions, we dig deep, we challenge, we do all of those things that I think we need to do to be mindful of what the city needs and doesn't need and benefits from. So I agree with what both of you have said. So, all right, anybody else, any comment? Okay. May I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion by Reva, second by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston.
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reva,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, the motion carries. Item E, resolution authorizing a memorandum of understanding with Jensen Oswald LLC. So we had a presentation by Mr. Jensen tonight. And I would say this for clarification. This is necessary for the flagship hotel to be satisfied that this project can move forward. This is a memorandum of understanding and not a formal development agreement that would come later. An MOU is an expression of an agreement to proceed that the parties have reached an understanding and are moving forward. So Holly, what else do we need to know?
Basically, this document type is a little bit new to the city. We've only kind of taken a look at this type of an agreement or soft agreement, non-binding, a couple of times, and both times now they've really been related to hotel projects. Hotel projects are a little bit more time sensitive in certain ways because they have this application process to the flag to become a franchisee. And there's specific timeframes that they have to meet within that. And then there's due diligence periods when they're looking at closing on the land. It's a little bit longer than some of the normal development projects. So with that, it kind of turns our scheduling a little bit wonky when we work on the urban renewal area process amendment and the development agreement scheduling that we have to do anytime you use TIF for a project. And it flip-flops things a little bit. So our bond counsel just mentioned this document a few months ago, and they said, how about we start looking at just doing these MOUs with some of these development projects if they're not fully ready to move forward with closing on the land. They're not at that point yet where we are going to execute a development agreement and start the urban renewal area process. Because once we start that, it's a lengthy process, costs everybody a little bit of money. So this way, it's just a really good way to let the developer know that the city is interested in this and we will support it moving forward. And it gives an outline of what that development agreement would look like if it does come to fruition. So it's just kind of a nice option for council to have. And I think you heard everything about the project's scope, but we could sure run through the scope again if anybody wants to talk about that. It's really kind of a nice option for the community and for the city of Norwalk. I feel really kind of blessed that we have this type of interest right now from these types of developments and brands. And I think it's such a desperate need we have right now for hotel rooms. Our hotel market study showed that we have a need in the next couple of years for at least 200 rooms. So this will fill some of that. And we have a couple of other interests we're working with right now, but be a great asset to our community. So.
All right, thank you. Any discussion or comments from council?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Holly, I know that Diligent is agreeing to use its part of TIF for this project. So it's not like awarding new TIF money to the hotel. But nowhere does it say any of that in the memorandum of understanding. And I don't know, I guess I am not comfortable with this deal were it not for that agreement with Diligent and using the Diligent's TIF. So if that part is not delivered, I wouldn't agree to these terms. So is the developer fully aware of the risk that if we don't get that agreement with Diligent and using Diligent's part of the TIF, are they aware that that could possibly cause this to go away? I mean, from my perspective, I'm just one vote.
Sure. We have both of the developers in the room right now. So we have Diligent here and Ryan with Marriott. And so they've been working pretty closely together. And I think it was actually maybe Tim that came up with this idea that we would take this route with Diligent, sorry. Just because they feel for all of Norwalk Central and for here Century Crossing retail, that this is just such a big asset for that area that's kind of willing, or it's worth that risk on their end of not being able to utilize the tip from that particular parcel and to kind of help incentivize this hotel project. So to answer your question, yes, they're both aware of that. And then when we get to the point of actually writing the development agreement, they would both have to be party to it because we'll have to amend diligence to kind of remove that one little area of tip parcel. And then the development agreement with the hotel would also have to cross-reference that to indicate it. And those two agreements, I would think we'd have forward sometime in March, at least a draft of those, if council moves forward with the MOU and everything works out with Marriott's process. And I know you have a few months left to close on the land and all that, right?
Everyone's saying, I mean, budget's the only.
Knock on wood,
For me.
knock on wood. I just feel the need to say that.
Stephanie, would you prefer that we actually enter some language in that MOU that specifically calls out the condition that Diligent would have to authorize the use of those TIF funds?
Well, I don't know that you need to put it in there for my sake because it's not a development agreement. I just want to make, I'm just looking, I guess, from the hotel standpoint, and I want to make sure that Oswald, that Marriott knows that there's a big contingent out there. You can say this memorandum of understanding is here, but the key part of it to me is that agreement with Diligent. If Marriott is willing to accept this MOU without any mention of that other part, then good on them. If that last part doesn't go through, it's just going to be a problem. I just want to make sure everybody was aware of the fact that if that deal with Diligent isn't recorded, you've lost my vote on this when it comes to the development agreement.
Really quick, I don't know that that's the consensus of council. I don't know that it isn't the consensus of council, but I don't know that it is the consensus of council. So I don't know that it should be added to them.
Yeah.
I just said I'm just one vote. I just
Yeah,
don't know that it's, yeah.
Yeah,
I just don't know that if the memorandum of understanding gets, if they think that this gets them what they need, that's great. I just wanted to make them aware that there's a key point here that's not mentioned in this MOU that we will handle when it comes to development agreement time, but there's a point out there that I'm not good on.
Well, this is Ryan Jensen of Jensen Oswald, and thank you for being concerned. It's nice to somebody's aware that that's a piece of the puzzle. So a couple things. One, we are aware of Jensen Oswald. We are aware of this. And two, we, in our purchase agreement with Diligent, this item is addressed. So one of the things that, gets us to the closing table on this piece of ground is solving the problem of shifting this TIF around a little bit. So Diligent and my team are working to make that happen. And this document is non-binding as well. So really doesn't obligate anything to anybody. It's just a general terms of understanding that we try to use to make that development agreement a little easier to put together.
Okay, great. Thank you.
My question was going to be for Jim, and that would be, is it possible for us to support this letter and condition it with the understanding that this TIF agreement would be reached?
I think the discussion good enough. I mean, like was just said, it is non-binding. And that's why I've had a little bit less concern. I mean, I noticed that wasn't in that, but with it being non-binding, none of the terms in there are set. My understanding is that this was just more of a show of support, informal show of support. So I think take it to the franchisor and say, look, the city's on board with this also, and let's get moving down the road on that. So I guess I'm not as concerned whether it's there or whether it's not there, because you're not binding yourself to anything right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any more discussion from council? Any public comment? Okay, may I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Cool, second by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes,
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Item number F, resolution approving supplemental agreement number 2 for additional engineering services for Iowa 28 Sunset Drive and Beardsley Street intersection improvements project. The city has previously entered into a contract with Snyder and Associates for engineering services of Highway 28 and Beardsley Street intersection. This agreement addresses administration and inspection services and assistance from DOT reimbursement. Don't be confused by the term amendment. We're not changing anything already in place, but rather adding to the contract for performance of construction inspection service and allowing for additional hours to cover cost of work related to the land acquisition and utility relocation. Wayne, what else do we need to know?
Thank you, Jackie. I'll add in here that we did receive $900,000 in grants for this project. The DOT and the MPO awarded us grants. Snyder will help us get reimbursed from the state on those. The DOT grant, it's great to have that money. It complicates things greatly on tracking of the project, inspection, and the reimbursements. It's something that Lindsay helps a lot with, but we definitely need their expertise with that help. Again, like North Avenue, we're requesting full-time inspection, the complexity of the project. There's a lot of street improvements, there's trail, there's high traffic, there's businesses, so full-time inspection is critical. We've included that. We awarded the project at the last council meeting. The contractor has signed the contracts. They've all been executed. They are eager to get going. We have a pre-con tentatively scheduled for next week already. That's it.
Any discussion or comments from council?
That's like, so the amendment is adding how much to the original contract?
The original one, the original design contract, or how much total being?
How much total is this amendment adding to the Snyder contract?
The
I
total
couldn't
addition.
find it real fast.
It's adding 302,000.
364,050 is the total.
That is what we're adding to their contract.
Yes,
So did we not award them this part of the contract? for total?
correct. So I feel every engineer does it a little different. B&K, when they bring their design contract forward, they almost always include construction too, right out of the gate. Bolton and Mink, what they'll do is we'll do a design contract and then an entirely new contract for construction. Snyder does a design contract and then they amend the design contract to add in construction inspection.
Okay.
The amendment makes it sound like something was missed and I don't like that terminology. That's just how they do it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So basically, they're gonna shepherd the project. They'll inspect it, make sure that it's up to the standards and the way we want it to be.
Correct.
All right, any other comments? Any public comment? I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the package.
Motion.
second,
Motion by Cool, second by Riva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, did you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
yes,
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, item G, resolution, I'm sorry, the motion carries. Item G, resolution authorizing the mayor to accept a bid for services with Aircon Mechanical Corp. Involving replacement of the controls for the public safety building HVAC system. Short version is that public safety desperately needs some improvements to their HVAC. Chief, what else do we need to know?
This is the first step of getting the problem fixed. The money's available in the CIP budget for this fiscal year. There'll be other projects that we'll have to bid out later, but this is the first step.
Any discussion or comments from council?
I just want to say that I hate all these buildings that have these control mechanisms that seem to have to be replaced on a regular basis.
Well, this one's getting fairly old already.
This is probably the oldest one, yeah.
Two different systems tied into one. It's a bizarre
Which is-
thing.
Part of the problem, and this will be one system that ties everything together.
Yeah, that'd be great. If it works out, geez.
That's what they're telling me anyways.
All right, any public comment? May I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Cool, second by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Reba,
Yes.
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item H, a resolution approving an agreement accepting a surety for public infrastructure at the Hughes Century Crossing Plat 5 area. Plat 5 and 6. Sorry, my notes are wrong. Okay. Elliot, what do you want to tell us about these?
Yep, so primarily the geography that we're looking at is with plat 5, although council approved plat 6 not too long ago. Just a couple of outstanding punch list items from Tony Belizzi, a little bit of weather sensitivity on some of those. And so the applicant diligent is requesting to bond for the remaining work in a total of about $93,000. That number comes directly from Tony B. And that should cover all the remaining punch list items on Hughes 5 and 6. My understanding is that they want to get the plat through council to facilitate sale and get that gas station lot and the hotel lot ready for transaction. That's all I have.
All right, any discussion or comments from council? Any public comment? May I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Baker, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item 8I, resolution accepting a competition surety for infrastructure and approving the final plat of Hughes Century Crossing Plat 5. Nothing more, Elliot?
Nope.
All right, any discussion or comments from council? Any public comment? May I get a motion to approve this resolution as presented in the packet?
Motion.
Second.
All right, motion by Reva, second by Lester. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba,
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries. Item J, resolution approving the site plan of Jones Family Dental. This would expand the dental office at 1350 Sunset Drive, adding a little more than 2,300 square feet. P and Z recommends approval contingent upon a shared parking agreement. Elliot?
Yep, so this is approximately the doubling of the commercial space available here. And they had plenty of room to do this when they first constructed the building. The expansion fits on there with no issue. The only thing that we asked from the development team is to provide the document outlining shared parking agreement in the adjacent lot to the north. Some of the parking spots behind that retail building are signed for the dental office only. And so between that and the provision of that document, they'll meet the parking requirement of the site. That was the primary item of discussion at P and Z. Otherwise, everything else checks out with zoning.
All right, any comment or question, discussion from council?
So should we, or do we need to add a condition on that? That they accomplish that shared parking and the movement of all that, or?
So they have that already.
Okay.
We just need to see that document before we give them the building permit to proceed.
Okay.
P and Z was requesting the document be in our hands rather than just known. I think everybody's been told it's there, but the phrasing.
Yes.
We've all been told it's there, but nobody at the city had seen the document, and P and Z felt like having the document in hand would make them feel better.
Wouldn't be bad.
No.
But that's something that you guys can request before you actually do that.
Yes.
All right, any other comment? Any public comment? May I get a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Lester, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Riva,
Yes,
Cool,
Yes,
Livingston.
Yes, that motion carries. Agenda item K. Resolution approving the site plan of Starbucks. This is at the northwest corner of Gordon Avenue and Highway 28. What else?
Hughes Century Crossing Parcel F strikes again, not a gas or service station this time. Well, a service station, but a different type of one. Went back and forth quite a bit with these guys working on the building elevations to get those architectural materials in good shape. Everything else from a site design perspective is good with zoning. The only checkbox that we're still wrapping up is just doing the fire safety review, but our third party reviewer is expediting that. So that's the last thing that we need. Once the fire department checks off on it, it's all set.
All right, any discussion or comments from council?
it's interesting, isn't it? You got two coffee shops springing up here now. And we went for the longest time with coffee in the trailer. But maybe that's a sign that things are changing commercially here for us a little bit.
Just a little. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the resolution as presented?
Motion.
Motion by Baker, second by Lester. Any further discussion? All right, Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
Yes.
Riva,
yes,
Cool,
Yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. L, a resolution approving the site plan amendment of the Hughes Heartland Sports Complex. This is regarding a revision to the lighting plan for the Norwalk Central Sports Complex. Elliot.
Yeah, originally the lighting fixtures in the parking lot area on the south side of the fields were going to be in the middle of the parking lot in a line. This revises them to put them on the periphery of the paving, pointing inwards rather than flooding out. That's really about it. It's pretty simple. It's changing the location of the fixtures. I think Holly's had a little bit more background on the technological innovation that Musco is bringing to town, but it's parking lot lighting.
Pretty exciting what they're planning. So I think they'll be in front of council in March, proposing a few things that'll kind of incorporate hopefully our city building, but yeah, the technology and these lights and their dugouts and the billboards and everything that they're doing is really pretty wild. And it's going to be the first in Iowa, and some of it will be first in the nation. So it'll be a pretty cool thing.
All right, any discussion or comments from council? Any public comment? All right, may I get a motion to approve the resolution?
motion,
second,
Motion by Riva, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Riva,
yes,
Cool,
yes,
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item N, resolution authorizing the outdoor display of merchandise for sale at Ace Hardware, 1120 Sunset Drive. So the folks at Ace frequently display merchandise in the parking lot area of the business. It's typical of many businesses, frankly, in the metro. But currently, given the number of parking spaces required, it doesn't actually conform. So we just have to review this and authorize it. What else?
That's basically it. They're wanting to also grant permission for another food truck, and we figured, well, let's clean this up while we get it, in front of us so that they're compliant with zoning. Just simple permission from council.
But this is not dealing with the food truck.
Correct.
This is just dealing with their outdoor sales.
Yes.
So does this, if I read this right, they're moving all of the stuff that sits all over their parking lot. They're gonna move it off to the side of the building. Is that my understanding from this?
When it comes to outdoor display of merchandise, there isn't really anything in the zoning ordinance requiring it to be in one place or another. I guess I didn't read the fine print of his letter.
Well, and it wasn't his letter. I think it was up in our stuff that I read
That's not-
that.
That wasn't how I read our stuff.
no, the way I read it was things were gonna stay about the way they are.
Yeah, my understanding, he's gonna keep them there, but he wants to get official
Can we cap
City
it that
approved audit.
you can only take up so many parking spaces? Because there's times where that stuff's covering up half that parking lot.
I suppose you could do that, yes.
I mean,
But
like
when
around
it's-
the 4th of July.
Separate agenda. Please, let's not go there. Yeah, but if I don't ever see, and maybe I just don't ever see it, that it causes a problem with parking. There always seems to be enough parking, even if this takes up a lot of parking spaces.
I see that lot full, especially in the afternoons, quite a bit.
Yeah, I don't disagree full. I just don't see it as,
Hey, maybe I would put the stipulation that I don't want him using the merchandise to block the drives within it. Maybe that's the issue I have, because right now he blocks the drives, which takes away a whole handful of parking spaces. Maybe that's the issue I have with it. But yeah, it takes away a whole bunch of parking spaces that nobody can get to, so.
Outdoor.
It doesn't bother, the outdoor
merchandise.
storage doesn't bother me and the display doesn't bother. It's just kind of maybe how he's had it in the past. It's just kind of all over and it's not.
So perhaps granting it with drive aisles being kept clear.
okay, any other comment?
Yeah, I do. I also don't have a problem with the outdoor storage or display. But I have seen the parking lot full, especially around the 4th of July. And I mean, it's okay for his business, but what about the chiropractor? What about Dollar General? Those people are trying to park too. So I just want to make sure that, I mean, I kind of like the idea of limiting how many spaces he can take, but I don't know what the right number would be. I mean, I like Dave's idea of at least don't block the flow of traffic. But there are times that I've gone there during the day and the parking spaces are taken.
Is that what you were talking, David?
Yeah, because you can't access any of those parking spaces on that other side of that stuff without driving through other parking lots or driving the wrong, because they're angle lot, it's an angle parking. So I mean, you've got 7 or 8 spots there that are just empty all the time because can't really get to them safely.
Yeah, you mean on the south end there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually frequent that business quite a little bit. Different projects and honeydews and whatnot. Now, usually there's plenty of parking. I mean, honestly, there usually is. But I agree with David, the stuff on the south end usually is sitting open and people aren't in there, just as it's depicted in the photograph here. I don't know as it's as much of a problem for the other 2 businesses because there's usually parking open up there around those 2, you know. And I really don't know how you control how somebody arranges stuff on the property, I guess. Other than by David's comment about keeping the driveways open. But I'd expect the business to be able to display things outside. The nature of that business, one would think that's what they would do. So I don't have a problem with displaying things outside. Maybe we add a caveat in there about those driveways. Maybe that would resolve it. I wouldn't think he'd intentionally create a parking lot problem for himself.
No, I don't know that. You could fix it. You could fix it by just changing the aisles the other way, but I think some of that is because of the tropical snow place as well. They try to limit who's driving in that one lane. And again, this gets back to not enough parking spaces for the businesses that are there. And we're having to block spaces to block entire sections to safely have a business there.
Right, any more discussion from council? Any public comment? Okay, so can I get a motion to approve the resolution as you wanted to approve?
Make the motion to approve it pending provided the driveway, what's the property?
Yeah.
Whatever the terminology, drives are open.
I think I think when we start picking where and when different flower cages come up and all of this stuff. I mean, their customers are going to decide on how he does it, or they're going to quit coming there if it's too much of a mess. I hate getting into this micromanaging, trying to do something like this on. I don't know how you would ever put this in print and make it work for virtually everyone in Norwalk.
Brian, mine's a safety thing. I mean, if you can't drive through.
Just the driveways? Yeah,
Just the
I mean,
driveways.
the
Yeah.
parking lot, you go to the Fairway parking lot, that place is never right. I mean, that's a complete disaster. Where do you begin?
We're only looking at this one property today, though, Brian. That's the issue. You can bring that one up another time.
All right, so we have a motion by Lester, a second by Cool to approve the resolution with the caveat that drive lanes not be blocked. So Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Cool,
Yeah.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Reba.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Item N, resolution approving the official name of the Park and Recreation Building within Norwalk Central. So there's quite a bit of history in the attachments for the council packet. But basically Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission is the commission that gets to choose and recommend the names of parks and buildings that belong to the city. They've been working in consideration of what to call what we now call the core, which was a recommendation by them. But since then, it's been asked that it be changed. And I won't get into all of the history or the reasons, but yesterday they had a meeting and they have selected four finalists and made a final decision. And Robin, you can reveal.
Oops.
So
No? Sorry, did I go?
No, I put it on the screen
Apparently
already.
Luke gets to reveal.
So the 5 final names were the Rec, Field House, Norwalk Field House, Norwalk Community Recreation Center, and Norwalk Recreation Field House, with the final recommendation of Norwalk Field House.
Anything else you want to say about it?
Nothing else to say.
Any discussion or comments from the council?
I'm happy as long as you got the name Norwalk, right? So when people talk about it or an event is advertised, they understand it's Norwalk.
I am completely underwhelmed. I understand why there's a request to move away from core. That's a much better name than the Norwalk Fieldhouse. But
I don't know, sounds like part of the board to me.
in the end, it is what it is. Anybody else? Any public comment?
I have a quick comment on this one. Okay.
Come on up, introduce yourself, tell us where you live.
Hello, council. My name is Vaughn Kenneth Breeze. I live at 235 Borough Court here in Norwalk, Iowa. And I've been a resident for about 27 years. And I just want to say thank you for naming this building something Norwalk in it, just like he said.
All right.
I think it's much better than the Auto Sports Complex building name, but I think we could do a little bit better on. Maybe come up with an acronym for that. I think we already have, but I just want to say I appreciate that. I think keeping things named Norwalk, I think Norwalk is this, Norwalk that. I think it brings pride to the town as opposed to a more Vegas-y, Mid-American Energy this, Greg Young this, the Von Breeze Police Station, the Eastern Public Library. So I do like that. It makes me feel more like a community, and I think people will appreciate it as well. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other public comment?
A nice positive comment too, isn't that nice?
All right, may I get a motion? Sorry, go ahead.
Can you read those 4 names again?
The Rec, the field house, which evolved into the Norwalk Field House, the Norwalk Community Recreation Center, the Norwalk Recreation Field House. And ultimately, the commission recommends the Norwalk Field House is the name.
And that's what you want a motion on, is the Norwalk Fieldhouse as the final?
That's what that's
That's been
the
the
agenda
nominee.
issue. Yep.
Oh, I'm underwhelmed too.
You think that would be confusing with the school's field house somehow?
School does not have a field house.
Oh, I'm sorry, pardon me all day.
Yeah, so I know this intimately because I was heavily involved with that project, but the state said that you cannot call a school gym facility a field house, notwithstanding the fact that some do. So the
Wow.
Norwalk facility is not called a field house.
All right, so it would not be confusing.
Well, I don't know if it'll be confusing or not, but
Well,
they don't have the same name.
Yeah, they have an NPEC and an NPAC and an M, whatever. I lost complete track with what all they have.
Performing Arts Center and a performing
Yes.
or a physical education center.
Oh, got it.
Huh?
We don't want to confuse with those.
Our park commission has a representative from the school. Anna is a junior at the high school. Is that right, Brian?
Yes,
And she brought up the same point about those different acronyms that get kind of confusing.
Yeah. All right, any additional discussion? May I get a motion to approve the
I'll
resolution?
make a motion for the Norwalk Field House, since it's recommended. See if I can get a second.
I'll give you a second.
All right, that's
All right.
two.
So, motion by Cole, second by Livingston. Any further discussion? All right, Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Livingston,
Yes.
Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
yes.
Reba,
Yes,
Cool.
Yeah,
All right, motion carries.
that's 5 votes.
All right, item O, resolution authorizing execution of an agreement with Bolton and Mank Incorporated for professional services for the school and trail connections and water main on Elm Avenue. Wayne, Robin, I don't know who wants to go first or who wants to say anything or nothing. Robin?
So this is one of those that is a professional services contract, so you will see another contract come forward. This is for design phase through bid process. This project is a portion of the second priority of the Greenways Master Plan. It will start on Pine Avenue, the corner of Pine and Elm, head east to Lane Avenue. So we'll install a 5-foot sidewalk there where there are some gaps. We will install a pedestrian crossing on Sunset. The pedestrian crossing, I know, David, you had brought up the speed limit. I did talk to Bolton and Mink about that. They are proposing the Hawk pedestrian system, which is recommended for high-speed crossings. Has the 2 red lights and then a yellow light underneath that red. And it goes through a different series to warn traffic as they approach. It is activated by the pedestrian that is crossing the street. What else?
Do we know if the DOT is okay with that? Or we're-
They will be working with the DLT closely on this. Yeah.
Thank you. And I still would reiterate, I would be pushing the DOT that 35, would make me a lot more comfortable. I'm
And that-
fine with it, but
Yeah, and
we need to make the push, whoever, I don't know which, if all of you need to call the DOT and tell them to do it, I don't know, but
So Justin's online if we have any questions for him. He did say that he would reach out to the DOT on the reduced speed limit as well again. I think that they have said no to that.
They've said no
Prior.
a lot of times and then they'll say yes the first time somebody gets hit there,
Yes,
which is too late, but
I agree.
that's the state, not us.
Are we in agreement that we all want to go to 35 there?
Well, that's, I'm not sure.
I mean,
I'm in
that's not
agreement.
even in
That's
this.
not Today's discussion.
That's not, no, that's me
Exactly.
saying, that's my feeling, but no.
Yeah, I don't want to be directing the DOT to be doing something, and that's not our discussion today, is my point.
But I'm wanting Bolton and Mink to be looking into speed as part of their agreement in my mind. And I think that
Right, and
safety of this crossing is important.
right, Robin said that is something that they're looking at.
They are looking.
Right.
Correct.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
And-
Justin.
Yeah. So that's my portion of the project, and then the other portion is water main. So we're trying to combine projects again on Elm with Public Works.
Was part of the McClure study to fill in a gap of water main on Elm between Pine and Snyder. So before they get their sidewalk in, they want to get the water main in.
All right, any discussion, any more discussion or comments from council?
Makes sense. And you see a lot of young people crossing that highway back and forth down in that area. Because we've got that larger residential area there in the west. So I'm really glad to see this happening because I think it'll make it a lot safer. And it's prudent to do the water main while we're tearing the sidewalk out and putting a new one in, So I think it'd be the way to go.
All right,
You have something?
you have something?
I do have something. Reviewing the contract, we don't have quite the final wording on some of the parts of the contract and they are reviewing that, and I guess so I'd like this approval contingent upon my final approval of the wording of the contract. It's none of the details, it's more the whole harmlesses and the things that us attorneys worry about.
I'll make a motion pending legal approval.
So I got a motion pending to approve the resolution to execute an agreement with Bolton and Mink pending legal approval. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, motion by Lester, second by Cool. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes,
Riva,
Yes,
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston.
Yes. All right, so that motion passes now. Item P, resolution, final reading of an ordinance providing for the division of taxes levied on taxable property in the January 2023 addition to the Norwalk Urban Renewal Area pursuant to section 403.19 of the Code of Iowa, Norwalk Central Diligent Property. So this is a final of 3 readings needed to restart the TIF for this area. Anybody on staff want to say anything? Any discussion or public comment from council? Any public comment? May I get a motion to approve the final reading of the ordinance?
motion,
Second? I'll second. So a motion by Baker, second by Livingston. Any further discussion? All right, Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Baker,
yes,
Riva,
yes,
Cool,
Yes.
Livingston,
Yes.
Lester.
Yes.
Okay, may I also get a motion for adoption of the ordinance?
Motion.
Motion by Cool, a second,
second,
second by Riva. Any further discussion? Lindsay, would you call the roll?
What are we?
Just following the directions.
Just a motion to adopt.
To adopt the ordinance.
you just approved the third reading.
Right, we approved the third
Okay,
reading.
that's all we need.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
All that.
Yes.
All right. Okay,
Disregard. All right.
trying to make more work for us,
You're just.
right?
I didn't know if you were calling for a second or making a second down there. That's why I looked confused.
No, it's all good.
It's
I
all
didn't know either. Okay, so Item 8, council inquiries and staff updates. We will start with Luke to update us regarding the plat of survey request by Colby Clacko and the comprehensive plan amendment.
Correct. So a couple meetings ago, we had a platted survey request that was outside of city limits within our planning area and within the kind of 2-mile boundaries. We get to review those and determine if they meet what we want. And at that time, we turned that down because it didn't meet our medium density land use plan dimensions there. But we did get some staff direction after that saying, well, try and find a way to make this work for them. So we wanted to follow up with that. I sat down with Jim. We really can't find a way to make it work unless we do a comprehensive plan amendment. I do believe there are a couple properties south of where he wants to go that are already existing rural residential lots. So if we as a city did want to entertain something, we could probably do something minimally invasive to our zone, our land use planning to accommodate that. So wanted to report back on that. If you would, I guess just a general, do we proceed with that and bring it back to you? It'd have to obviously be public hearing and all that stuff. So not asking for a decision on that tonight, but just some general, yeah, let's talk about it again in another meeting, or just, are we good?
I would like that. I would like it to come back and discuss it again.
Discuss again. Okay, we can take it through the process. And so that's going to be a planning and zoning commission hearing. They'll make recommendations. So basically the same process as the zoning amendment. So
Is that not just what we did last time?
what
How
we
is
did
this
last
different?
time was specifically related to the split that he wanted to do, not necessarily should the land use plan change or not.
And,
It was more the plat of survey itself.
and if I understand you correctly, it would be, although it would encompass the property that he wants, it would also encompass more of the area. And you would give us an opinion about whether or not this makes sense, doesn't make sense, harms the future, doesn't harm the future, those kinds of things, correct? So I think it would be a more expansive evaluation and discussion. That's why I would like it to come back.
Yeah, I think Brian, if I remember the conversation correctly, that was whether the council could approve the plat of survey as presented. And the council really had their hands tied at that point in time. They couldn't. And I think during that meeting, we did state at that point in time, the only way that we could possibly see a path to be able to approve that would be to amend the comprehensive plan. So there was.
And
a
we voted
discussion.
that down.
Yeah,
And we
there's a-
voted that down.
There was a discussion regarding amending the comprehensive plan, but the vote was whether you approved the plat of survey or not. That was the only question from the council. So as a result of voting that down, but then also getting further direction from the council, it was requested it, to at least come back to the council and give the path that we think would be the way, if you were inclined to want to do it. We couldn't figure out any other method. We did try to get creative, but really the law lays out the method of getting this taken care of, and really there's no creativity to it. It's just amending your comprehensive plan. So I know it was discussed like you said, but there wasn't a vote on whether you wanted to amend the comprehensive plan or not. And so we're discussing that now. And that's the process Luke's talking about, I believe.
I'm really confused, but that's fine. I'm used to it.
Well, I'm confused with you, Brian. I thought that we made it voted down doing what he wanted to do because we had no interest in amending the comprehensive plan, but
And
I guess if we want to take time to talk about it, okay.
We voted not to amend the plan.
No, we didn't.
We never got that.
No, we
far,
didn't.
but
Okay.
We did discuss that as being an outcome.
Yeah, I think from the comprehensive plan discussion came into the fact that if you wanted to approve it, that needed to come in addition to us changing the comprehensive plan. Well, ultimately, council voted not to approve it, which then de facto says don't do a comprehensive plan amendment. Then when Jim and I sit down trying to figure out something, we're reporting back to you, this is the only way we can do it. And we can bring you something that's a little more thoughtful as to how it could look, so you can consider it if you want.
Yes, and I'd like to make, for me, a more informed decision for me.
Okay,
So-
we'll look at it again.
Yeah, I think one way we could go about it is, is, what we could do is have it on a future agenda and ask council formally, that really, I don't think you can vote for right now, but to formally direct us on whether we want to send it to P and Z and actually go through the process of amending the plan, because that's,
Yeah.
that's a lot of work to
setting a
do that.
future-
You know, so I think maybe have the council address it next and say,
I can give you some
take a formal
map
vote of whether we
options of
send it
what
to
it
P
would
and
look
Z or
like
not.
and then,
I think that's a good idea. I'm not necessarily opposed to hearing something again or thinking through something again, because you don't lose much by talking. But I think it would be probably prudent for us to have the discussion we're having now, but have it on the agenda. So the staff knows whether or not to burn staff time. Those people know whether or not there's a possibility or not. You know, 'cause you hate to dash people's hopes if, you know, it's not there. I'd rather be upfront with them.
okay, we'll prepare something for the 16th.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else that you want?
Just,
Updates or anything?
I get a quick couple things. Permits were up again in January, so we were 15 single family permits in January. So I think we were 12 in December. So pretty solid numbers for really cold weather. So we'll keep seeing how that gets going forward. Those two numbers were kind of on track with where we were at historically, averages for December and January, after we had the lull in kind of September, October, November. So
Are those single family permits and?
13 of them were single family, and we had one duplex that we consider that a townhome permit. It's counted twice because it's 2 units, but one structure, so. Okay.
All right, thanks.
Thank-
Luke Nelson.
Just giving you an update, we've been having meetings with Snyder and Associates every couple of weeks. We're talking about the Southwest Corridor planning. And it's nice to see that they are starting to check all the boxes for all their environmental review, starting to look at what that corridor looks like way off in the distant future. As we said, that's within our land use planning area. And we wanted to kind of firm that up a little bit as we embark upon the certified site project out there. So just letting you know that's coming along nicely. It's good to see Snyder and Associates producing some good results there.
One thing to add to my update, that what you said, right?
You're done.
Just kind of related to the bigger picture of planning and stuff, the county's working on their comprehensive plan. They're starting that up. Had a conversation with our consultants today, and so I will be on the steering committee for that. So good to have some city representation helping the county with their plan as well. So,
And he just reminded me of one more thing.
See?
We're gonna go back and forth all night.
maybe
Snyder Associate, they did talk about wanting to do some kind of a work group discussion. And they specifically brought up the fact that the county is doing that comprehensive plan. So we may want to have Lindsay or another representative from the county join us. Now I'm done.
Okay, all right, Lindsay. You want to go to them on these two online or no? Reba Baker? No, they're not according to my list. All right, I'll go. Wow. I'll get to them. Okay.
The 2022 codification is done, so if you are out on the website, that link is updated and the 31 ordinances that you all passed last year are included now, so that's super exciting. David, I sent you an email yesterday. I think that the Mid-American.
Been down there, so.
Okay, well, I can't imagine I have that much pull with Mid-American Energy, I'm being honest. So Wayne, if you did anything that I didn't know about with Mid-Am, thank you. Okay,
But thank you guys. If it's fixed, great. If it's not, I'll let you
I
know.
didn't see any poles in the ditch, so I'm thinking. Okay. And then you all know we had a power outage yesterday that lasted most of the day here, but just a quick thanks to Gary with Public Works. He was here and on it like nobody's business. And then once we did get power back, Tim was here, Kirk was here because our doors weren't locking properly. So it was nice to see everybody just kind of work as a team and get us back up and running. That's all I have.
All right, thanks, Robin.
Okay, the spring playbook is published. And we're also getting lots of applications for our summer position. So we're interviewing and hiring for those, which is a good thing. Our Park and Recreation Advisory Commission, we have one current opening, and in July, we will have a second opening. So we've received applications and We'll be doing interviews sometime in February. We don't have any dates set yet. And then we're just, as a staff, actively working to schedule space and programming for the Norwalk Field House. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Is Jean straight along? She is, yes.
I am here, but I don't have a report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.
You've seen some press releases coming out in the last week or maybe 2 weeks now. We had scooters out, Starbucks will go out soon. We also had several of the new sponsors that are coming on with the Norwalk Central area, which has been very generous. And we love that we've had these companies, mostly local so far, that are contributing to the whole area, which helps with our budget, helps us get other things in the future that we maybe couldn't budget for initially. So we're very grateful to all of those sponsors coming on. We'll have another one tomorrow that goes out, and then a few more next week. And then just some positive things to think about too on budget. We know that it's a scary time right now for everything. We don't know what's happening nationally that could come down and affect us in the next year or two, and then stuff happening with the legislature. But thankfully we have had really good commercial growth in the last 5-6 years. It's helping to offset some things. And then over the next couple of years, we know we have 2 really large industrial expansions getting ready to start here this spring. And those 2 alone will add 200,000 square feet of new industrial space, over 22 million in new value. So that'll result in well over $1 million in new property taxes. And we know, of course, we're only get a sliver of that, but it'll benefit everybody, the county and the schools. They're adding 220 new full-time jobs. So good things coming, and that's just 2 projects that we're, well into planning with those. So not to mention everything that's happening in Norwalk Central. Almost all of the commercial properties that are available in Norwalk Central are under contract. We have 1 still available along Highway 28, and then we have some in the town center parcels still available, but those are going quickly, and the surrounding land are starting to get a lot of good interest in contracts on commercial properties as well. So that's all good and positive. And then also the Dunn Industrial project that you all passed a couple of meetings ago with that new development group that purchased the 19.5 acres, and they just closed on another 20 acres next door to that. So they're well underway with their site plans, and they have 3 industrial buildings planned to start here. The first 2 will start in the spring. And that'll add another $6 million in value. So just, things are kind of coming online, especially on the industrial side. The Kosovo events coming up. So it's their Independence Day 14th, 17th. 14th.
I don't remember.
So there is a, I don't know if it's a celebration of the governor's office, but it is a meeting of the Sister City Partnership delegates, which we're a part of course, with our sister city. So if anybody's interested in going to that on the 17th, please let Jackie or I know, and we can get that information over to you, as well as kind of the bigger formal event, which is on the 24th. And that's at DMAC, not Camp Dodge, right?
Right, it's at DMAC at their Culinary Arts Building.
If anybody's interested in going to those, please let us know. It's a big deal for them. Each year as an independent, newer nation is a big deal, and they still love America for helping them out, and we have a great partnership with them. So other than that, like Luke said, you're officially in the certified site program now. Chris worked pretty hard getting everything ready for that, sent in the official application. We've already started the meetings with the state. We have our defined outline map of what those acres will look like, about 135 acres going into the program. So that gives us a really good leg up on the other certified sites in the state, assuming we get accepted and it moves forward. So, well, good.
Thank you. Jean Kelly.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Chief Staples.
Yes, last or on our current budget, we hired a police officer to make a second school resource officer. That was dependent on Officer Allen and Sauer's training being finished. They're about halfway done their field training, so getting close to being able to deploy a second school resource officer. We've advertised within the department for interest. That closes tomorrow. And then we'll do some interviewing, and we'll probably name somebody by the end of February. And that is very timely because as we prepare the 2022 annual report, we looked at school resource officer activity, and we found that Officer Criswell's call load increased 86% from 2021 to 2022. So it's about time for us to give him some help. So that was very timely. Also, interestingly enough, in 2022, regular police calls increased 33% to over 8,000. That's the most we've ever had, as far as I know. So anyways, last year was a big year for us. And then the homicide from September is scheduled to go to trial on March 27th. That week has been blocked out, and we've restricted time off for officers. Hope just in case several of our officers have to be in Indianola for the better part of a week. But as of right now, that looks like it'll go that week. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. Chief Porter.
I have nothing tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Wayne?
Nothing tonight.
Same, nothing tonight.
Harry? Tony, are you on?
Yes, I am. Nothing else for me tonight. Thanks.
Thank you. Oh, you want to add anything?
Nope.
Okay. Ed?
Yeah, chief, fire chief. How much have your calls increased by this year over last year?
This year, like in 2023,
Yeah,
or I'm sorry, 2022 or 2023.
the year in comparison.
From last year, they increased, let me look at my data here. They increased 10% from the previous year, from 2021 to 2022.
That's another reason why you don't want to reduce staff while your workload's going up. You know, that's just what I'm saying. Anyway, I had asked a while ago if there might be orientation training or classes conducted for new members of boards and commissions, you know, that we have. And I wondered how that was coming. Is that progressing, or has it been happening, or?
Yeah, we had the first one this Wednesday with the park board.
Good.
Lindsay, Jim and I all sat in and went over just kind of a 101 of being on a board or commission with the city.
Super.
I think it was well received.
Super.
But we've got another one. When is our next one planned? Do you know? The P and Z?
No, P and Z later. It's gonna be the library board will be next, and then P and Z, and then all of our other ones that don't necessarily meet consistently, just have us on their next upcoming agenda. So we will have met with the three, main boards or commissions by the first week in March.
Good. Yeah, we got a lot of good people on those boards and commissions, so we really do want to take care of them. Keep them coming back, you know?
The first thing we do at each one is we thank them for being volunteers, because that's
Good, very good. All right, that's all that I have. Thank you.
David?
Well, I was just gonna thank all of them that all the people that are on those commissions and such. And if there's a vacant, like there's one on the Parks Board right now, that if you see them, go out and apply for them. And there's something you're interested in or have some expertise in, because we need people on it. That's all I was gonna say.
Stephanie?
Yes, just one MPO thing. The MPO and SERPTA jointly applied for a USDOT grant, and they received it for $1 million. And that is they're going to be using it to create action plans for safe streets and roads. Bottom line, it is to make roads safer for pedestrians, make better crosswalks, Dave, and stop or try to improve intersections that have a high crash rate. And the reason it's important is because coming behind this is $5 to $6 billion of USDOT funding to implement plans, but you can't apply for those funds unless you have a plan. So this is a big deal. And so heads up, Robin, Wayne, Luke Paris, Elliot, that you might want to start thinking about doing some kind of a safety plan, what we might need in Norwalk to be able to access these funds that are coming up. That's it.
All right, thank you. Brian?
Metro Waste, everyone's shocked that prices will be going up in that area as well. And on compost bins, that will increase in price. Other than that, I'm good.
Right, Jim?
Nothing.
All right, I have nothing. So now, item 9, we will go into closed session pursuant to Iowa Code Section 20.17 sub 3 to discuss labor negotiations for public works bargaining unit agreements. Jim, is this a valid reason to go into closed session?
Yes, it is.
May I get a motion to move into closed session?
Motion.
Okay, I'm gonna give Cool the motion and give it a second. Is that all right? And Lindsay, will you call the roll?
Councilmember Reba.
Yes.
Cool.
On this discussion is about.
Yes.
Lester. Baker.
Yes.
All right, it is 7:50 and we are out of open session. We're gonna go into open recess.
Tim,
And if we get another sports loan.
you just gonna get out there? Is that okay? Out there. Yeah. It's really. We'll come out and get you. Thanks, Tim.
Going in close.
It's been an ongoing battle with UNC.
Look at it. So yes, I
But they tickets have been on once.
Get all this stuff ready.
I go by there.
Since we moved them.
I'm just curious.
Oh, I know.
All right, see you later.
If they had the tickets still up, go on the door. Beginning.
Thank you, Robin.
Yeah.
I'll email you that. Thank you.
So Luke, I think I figured out my hotspot. I think my hotspot is maxed out at 20 some.
His hotspot's maxed out.
And so
You look so much warmer, Baker.
it's cutting me out.
With the appropriate tone.
Hey, I say, Baker, you look so much warmer.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
How
It was
warm is it
84
down
today.
there? Huh?
84 degrees today.
84. Holy buckets. You don't even want to know what it was here. Long way from 84.
I think this is throttling me down. The hotspot.
Ah,
I changed it to mine and it's doing okay.
you having a fun and exciting time down there? You're still in Florida, right?
Yeah,
Where you at? Florida?
in Titusville.
Ready?
All right.
Just went that way for a second, maybe to the bathroom really quick. We'll wait for him to come back.
I wasn't sure if he was staying in for this or not.
Next month, Egypt. It'll be warmer over there.
That's a long trip.
Got to get my safari closed.
Like in my room, in my area. Maybe you into the bathrooms. Huh? You have one? You
got them loaded? No. Well, let's do that. Next time we meet, we'll load the trophy presentation.
University of Iowa. That's where Fieldhouse came from.
Wait for Grant or no?
Was it really?
Yes.
So I'm actually honoring.
All right, guys, we're gonna start.
Yeah, absolutely. That's also one of my favorite ones.
The field house. You showed me that.
Okay, but the original basketball court's the field house.
Lindsay, tell me when you got the recording going. Please.
I am.
Okay, we are going to start the closed session
All right.
at 7:56. Lindsay, would you call the roll?
Councilmember Lester,
Here.
Baker,
Here.
Reva,
Here.
Poole,
Here.
Livingston.
Here.
Okay. Also present, Greg Staples, Police Chief, Lindsay Offenberger, City Clerk, Luke Nelson, City Manager, Jim Doherty, City Attorney, Carrie Keat, HR Director, Wayne Schwartz, Director of Public Works, and Bill Ballard, Assistant Director of Public Works.
All right, Carrie, I'm going to turn it over to you. I just want everybody to understand that the process is going to be, you will explain the proposal from the union. We'll discuss once we feel like we have a consensus. We'll go out of closed session to take action.
Thank you, Jackie. So as you know, we met with the Public Works Union back in December, I believe it was December 27th. We were not able to reach an agreement, so we needed to go to mediation. That was the next step. So we met with the mediator. He's one of two federal mediators in the state. Was it Jim Tukey? Maybe it was his name. But we met with Tucky.
Tiki.
Tiki?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tiki.
TUE. It doesn't. Okay, I'm gonna move on. But yeah, we met with the Public Works Union again to go through the mediation. It was a lot more fruitful. It went a lot faster. Having that mediator there was very helpful. I think that the mediator was able to talk with the union and explain some things that maybe their union rep didn't explain fully to them, which is unfortunate because obviously we want our public works employees to have good information and to have somebody strong representing them. So I was really thankful for the mediator's role that day. So what we came to, the tentative agreement that we agreed upon that day, starting with Article 8 leaves, we're going to change the language to allow an employee to take up to 80 hours per year to help